enough from SANDBOX to stop that last pick from being so pivotal. Because the LeBlanc in game number 1 was absolutely fantastic coming in from Dove.
I think you need to, first round, one of those carries if you're DAMWON Gaming, and deal with a counter pick from Summit. Summit also plays those creative champions, as we know. But zooming in on game number 3. Back in game number 1, DAMWON on blue side, Lucian, Camille, Akali were the bans. Camille ban, that one's going to stay. OnFleek doesn't get to play Camille, and Camille on patch 9.2 still going to see a lot of respect. The Urgot ban is added, though. They did not really have an answer to Summit's MVP performance on the Urgot in game number 1.
And remember that Aatrox was the first pick here for Nuguri on our DAMWON side in game number 1, and then Summit straight up belted him on that Urgot.
Canyon did well in game number 2 on the Aatrox, so you could just lock it in and work it out later.
Yeah, go for a bit
if
of
you're DAMWON Gaming. First round Draven ban against SANDBOX. I'm liking the first round bans against some players. We've seen SANDBOX first round ban Vladimir. We've seen DAMWON Gaming first round Vlad the Draven. Especially in game number 3, as things move forward, you're going to have to be bold at some point, and only so many people can get counterpick on the red side. So given all of this, first round Draven ban, SANDBOX Gaming, they will not ban the Vladimir. They will just stick with the Akali ban in first round.
Yeah, and we're going to stick with the first pick. Aatrox here from DAMWON Gaming as well. Akali was the first pick for SANDBOX in game number 2, but now is unavailable based on that last ban that has come in. But as far as the bans that did happen in game number 1, Tahm Kench available again, Kai'Sa available, and that is going to be it.
So this feels like Kalista Thresh then, on the side of SANDBOX Gaming. The Thresh first picked here, you could take Kalista at Dove's pick and then ban away Nocturne. Obviously it could be Aatrox jungle, but that's of course what you're thinking of there. That was the hard engage comp we've seen do very well against Kalista. Thresh is the ultimate go-to for Dove. As we talked about first round top lane picks for Nuguri, first round Jace, both to deny a Jace coming through from Nuguri. It is Nuguri's most premier pick, so much of this Jace. This is a really fun little mind game by SANDBOX.
Well, DAMWON actually thinking of giving up on any pick-away opportunity. Of course, the Nocturne could be grabbed in this round to deny the Kalista pickup, but Ezreal just going to be taken away, and that's the Galio for DAMWON this time. 2 games in a row for Joker, but obviously he doesn't even want to be playing it as the Thresh was locked in. And here's that Kalista Thresh that you were talking about, now with the opportunity of banning away the Nocturne.
And that's why I love Game 3s 3 weeks into the season. You can make educated predictions on tendencies. And SANDBOX, because they lost, want to fall back to a duo that works and want to do it at this spot because they can ban Nocturne if they want. They've left Nocturne open before after going into Kalista Thresh, but really nicely done here by SANDBOX. They've gotten something on the red side that's pretty unanswerable. It's very hard to find a duo and even a team comp that guaranteed beats Kalista Thresh.
Well, Sejuani going to be banned away here on the side of DAMWON Gaming. And do SANDBOX actually decide to put that ban into the Nocturne? Remembering both of our other games, Nocturne has been banned in patch 9.2, where it is more difficult to get to that paranoia. Maybe an opportunity for the Kalista to survive a little bit better, but no, they are going to go to what has been working against Kalista in the past and ban the Nocturne this time.
And that's the thing, is what if you did an Atlas and you lost to Nocturne? You feel so sheepish. Everything else, you've got a Jace takeaway, you've got Kalista Thresh, and then you lose to Nocturne comp, then that's just actually egg on your face. So I like the fact they double down. They ban the Nocturne. So far, the ban has gone to our expectation based on our read of where SANDBOX is at. But second round here can be pretty bizarre. SANDBOX haven't committed to the role of the Jace necessarily. There's a small chance OnFleek puts us in the jungle. Remember, as jungle Jace has been played a lot by Tarzan and a smattering by our other mechanical junglers. So we don't know anything for certain. This would be the confirmation. This would be a takeaway from Canyon, as Galio and the Kha'Zix have good synergies, and Canyon's most played has been Kha'Zix instead. They play around with the heartstrings and lock in Lee Sin.
Yeah, 3rd game in a row here for OnFleek. We'll be jumping back on the Lee Sin. Looked fantastic in game number 1, but couldn't get anything done in game number 2, but no one could, to be perfectly honest. And DAMWON now have to round out their roster with their last couple of picks. What do they decide to go with, and where will this Galio be going? Rakan locked in. All right, so that means that Galio is going into a solo lane and Hoyt is back on his favorite champion, but has to deal with some pretty heavy nerfs.
Yeah, I got to look around the DWG side of the audience. Everyone's gasping a bit and whispering, because of course everyone knows about the Rakan nerfs. You know who didn't get nerfed? It's Vladimir, and we're going to the famous Nogari Vladimir on the side of DWG game.
Yeah, that is going to be once again the Aatrox in the jungle. But this will be the confirmation that Galio will be mid lane and Vladimir will be top lane, because there's no way you have a Vladimir on your squad with Nogari there and don't give it to him.
And this was a price you had to pay to ban Tahm Kench Nocturne. You couldn't spam bans against Nogari. If you look at the bans here, Akali, a Nogari champion, maybe Cassiopeia, but it's only one true top lane ban. On the side of SANDBOX, that means that Nogari was sort of able to recreate a red side drop. Now, Jace wins this matchup super hard in the early game until he doesn't. It's always about timings in Jace versus Vlad matchups. Vladimir top side. Now, the engage around the Vladimir isn't as reliable. It's new Rakan, and we have to pause, as it feels like the Rakan has to pause before those engages happen.
Yeah.
Feels like Kalista can hop out of even more of those grand entrances than she could before. Kalista Thresh is primed to do very well in the 2v2. But you see the Vladimir, you remember some of those Vladimir games, and you dare to hope that DWG Gaming might be the surprising first team to take a match away from SANDBOX Gaming.
Yeah, so let's have a look at these rosters here. Very standard bottom lane for patches gone by. Ezreal Rakan going to be picked up. Hoyt was one of our premier Rakan players. Was so extraordinarily good for DWG Gaming. Now paired up with the Ez once again. Showmaker back on the Gargoyle in the mid lane, but after taking a bit of a hit, we'll see whether it's going to be as effective in a lane that can be very difficult, as Dove has jumped on the Zoe that's seen as something you can pick at a Galio very reliable.
There is the real potential for 3 pretty significant winning lanes on the side of SANDBOX, and it's SANDBOX who have been the best about getting early gold and turret plates down next to Griffin. Unflake's not on a level 2 ganker, but if a jungle gank goes well and the lanes fall into expected patterns, who's to say DWG Gaming never get their team comp going?
Yep, and he has been able to do it in the past, so let's have a look if he can do it in a game number 3. All right, SANDBOX not with quite as many of the fans, but DAMWON with a very impressive amount here at LoL Park today. And in a game number 3, they're going to need it. SANDBOX won game 1, but it was a 40-minute slogfest. Game number 2 barely happened. So DWG with a lot of momentum moving into this game 3, but with a different side, might be a different story, because these lanes feel a lot different to what we had in game number 2.
There is huge advantage SANDBOX Gaming in the laning phase. Zoe versus Galio, very Zoe favored in the early game. Jace versus Vlad, very Jace favored. Kalista Thresh with bans on top can be big as... Well, that's one way to be quicker.
All right.
Now remember that movement speed scaling with Grand Entrance was also nerfed. In the past, you could go for the boots of mobility, and if you never took damage, you got the percentage scaling with your movement speed. Now it's just flat scaling, so even Predator doesn't have a true interaction with Grand Entrance. So I think where Predator flash quickness into Grand Entrance later, right now, the timings on this Rakan are still going to be very much under the microscope. We're going to continue to learn about patch 9.2, but the lanes here, there is a real chance that that sort of gold lead that we saw from DWG Gaming in game number 2 could be recreated by SANDBOX Gaming.
But as you can see, already an invade coming in. OnFleek going to be stealing away the blue buff on the other side of the map. Some vertical jungling will ensue afterwards. But we'll see whether Canyon gets 3 buff to start this game off, as OnFleek already playing with a lot of confidence, knowing that he's got a lot of push pressure.
And Atlas, it's exhaust to Rakan as well. The Ignite nerfs are there on patch 9.2. So a less viable 2v2 spell. It's obviously useful, but Ignite is kind of defensive, offensive, very reliably, and Exhaust doesn't get quite the same value. And it's Teleport Ezreal, who doesn't want to be looking for 2v2s, so they have no answering of the health advantages that Heal and Ignite can take. So it's another lane saying, guys, maybe later. Let's see if DWG Gaming can get through that phase, as Canyon finding something good is so necessary to buy them time.
Yeah, gets the knock up here as OnFleek does safeguard his way out. That will cost him a Rift Scuttler and a whole bunch of his health bar.
Now, how much Rakan W on patch 9.2 have you actually seen in action, Atlas?
Not a massive amount, to be perfectly honest. In my earlobe, people don't really feel confident in playing Rakan.
I'm really excited to see it on screen because you've seen the GIF, you've heard about it, but it really, really is conspicuous. It feels even worse than the famous Z W change, which before a lot of our viewers even started watching, ZW compared to Rakan feels fast, but back in the day, Zed just leapt across the screen with his living shadow. The nerf felt terrible, and the Rakan nerf feels worse.
Yeah. Well, let's. I'm waiting for the first one. As I remember, Hoyt had so many games in this champion as well, so his muscle memory is going to suffer when that does go off. He's going to go back to base, though, very, very early. See what he's actually deciding to pick up here. There felt like no real reason to go back home. Wants to get the boots and does finally have a keystone.
He wants a keystone, baby. He's got boots. And where is he going? Because it doesn't seem to be bot lane. Teleport Ezreal famously can farm at 1100 range happily with the Mystic Shot. Has no lane presence, but what can Hoyt and Canyon do? Because here's a way to get over the hump of, man, do our lanes suck early. Get some creative ganks off from weird paths with Predator Rakan and an Aatrox, and then maybe, just maybe, you get that gold early enough for your scaling to matter.
Well, the hook's going to land here as the Lantern Ride is in and Nuclear has been ignited. Takes a hell of a lot of damage onto this turret. You mentioned the teleport.
Predator!
You have to use it as the Predator does come in. It's a Gleaming Quill that's going to be the result, and not much else.
I don't even know if he's skilled Grand Entrance.
Why would you on this patch? Summit going to take a turret shot.
A famous shielding, healing support champion. Not Sona, Rakan.
Yeah. We all know what you feel about Sona, though, Mr. Sona Abuser in solo queue.
I mean, I feel like she's underappreciated. I actually think there is a world where Sona might become a pro pick, but let's hold that for now. I'm still testing.
Yep, all right, all right. I'll come back to you once you've got full information of whether Edward is now going to come back into the meta as best support.
Well, Aatrox spending a lot of time bot lane for a no summoners Nuclear to help out on. Spotted on Vision.
Yeah, he's going to move on over. The Grand Entrance. Oh, man, that was real slow. But Joker's
Party
still
time!
going to get hit by it. And Showmaker makes his way down here as well as Joker's going the other way. They'll only be getting one kill here, but it's going to be first blood. And it is going to be going over to DWG Gaming. Hoyt jumping over that wall with the flash. The Q is going to land, but Joker's taking him on a wild goose chase. Oh, man, the slowest over the Grand Entrances, but still able to lock down the kill is the Rakan.
That was a short range one, so you don't notice it as much. But yes, on the slower side, they pick up the kill. Bit of damage over the wall from Nuclear. Cementing the conga line yakety sax was very amusing. Onflick's waiting for Hoyt, and he's damn squishy.
Yeah, he's going to slow on that one as the Grand Exit looks even worse than the Grand Entrance. And Dove doesn't find the trouble bubble, so Hoyt will be able to make it out.
We've got a lot going on here. Canyon being engaged onto Onflake. Doesn't have one rotation damage.
Yeah, not going to be able to do it just yet, but is going to lock down this Rift Scuttler. Not going to take too many of them now, as W has to be used by Noguri up top side, but this is how we expected this matchup to go. Shock Blast hitting there would have been a disaster for Noguri, who just used his teleport.
But let's think about the yakety sax we've seen. A kill goes to DWG, unexpected because of the scaling approach all their lanes is taking. And we said 3 winning lanes. We only see 1 going to plan. Only top lane is heavily going the way
used defensively.
Yeah, just for the sustain here.
It's not what you want, but we'll have the Crimson Rush to get his health back up yet again.
Hoyt finds another fire to deal with.
As they pause it, he says, there's been a little bit of a bug to my Grand Entrance. Unfortunately, it's going too slow, guys. Why isn't this working?
Really awkward timing also. We know that Summit and Hoyt are 150 units from each other, so there should be action there soon. Our observers just panning through. We get a confirmation when we hear something. Because of all the sleight of hand, it does feel like the first, I guess, we've got the timer here on our screens, about 7 minutes.
Yeah.
There's been a bit of, what's the gambling game where you have the ball and the cups and you have to choose? It's a 3-card Monty. It's
something like
similar
that.
to
Basically
that, right?
the same, yeah.
Effectively 3-card. It feels like this is 3-card Monty, where the early game is so weak from the side of DWG. They're like, what about this? And what about this? And all the sleight of hand. And if that means that through shenanigans, we get to 15 minutes and 2 lanes are equal in CS, with the greedy comp that DWG have, it's actually a win. Right now,
absolutely,
we're looking for SANDBOX to have a pretty significant gold lead in the first 15 minutes, and any distractions to make that happen are actually really smart for DWG.
Well, you can see we have confirmation here that it is Ghost that has the problem. Apparently the Callista jump motion feels a bit weird.
Oh.
What that means, I have no idea, but it feels weird. Papa Smithy?
I really wish this was on the side of Rakan. The grand entrance feels
Well, I mean, that was
weird.
my prediction. I'm not going to lie to you. Because it does actually feel
If I was
weird.
the ref and the Rakan said that to me, you know what I'd do? I'd say stand up and I'd hug the Rakan player. I'd be like, sorry, friend.
Aww.
It's not going to get better.
It's not better. And look, you can also take an armor nerf as well. Have that one on top.
Oh, good. Rakan's tankiness taken down another notch.
How many times has his tankiness been abused? I think it's
A
been
lot.
about 4 nerfs in a row.
Freak did a really good YouTube video and talked about how Rakan actually has amusingly high armor in the late game. I believe his armor per level was actually super high.
Okay.
But early game, obviously, is low health, and the armor is kind of a 6-2-3 scenario, and then now he has less armor, so he's even weaker in the early game. But yes, he is now, in many ways, toned down, and that's why we see second-round Rakan, and everyone gasps, and we're trying to understand and unpack. Now, in the late game, you've got so many other dive friends that maybe it doesn't matter. Even the quickness hits a couple, and Vladimir Nogari just wins games by himself if he gets 5 items. Big if this game, and especially with the laning phase, going heavily to the side of the Jace, as we predicted.
Yeah, exactly right. And the quickness will still be very effective at running around these fights, especially with a Predator on his back. So that's probably the change that he's going to make. Maybe Battle Dance his way in on top of the Galio. Just to get some confirmation, our referees have not found any problems with Kalista. Kalista is still Kalista, and her jump is not, according to them, very weird.
I mean, he played it on stage on 9.1, so I guess I defer to Ghost on this one, so hopefully
yes, absolutely.
That's something that can be explored. Again, awkwardly, the top side of the map is where the action is about to hit.
He certainly has a lot of games on Kalista as well, Ghost, one of our resident Kalista players. Few of them still here in the LCK. Of course, Deft, a big name.
But isn't it nice that we have Kalista players, Draven players, Jinx players?
Yeah.
We have not just meta abusers in quite a few roles. Feels like the AD carry is the one where that has been felt the most. We have Summit, who plays Darius, and no one else is on the Darius hype train in pro play just yet. Speaking of hype trains, understandably, given it is 3rd game of the night for these teams, teams in the coaching booths are a bit subdued right now.
Yeah, still wanting to make sure that they can get things sorted out. Refs just having a chat in amongst themselves to try and understand exactly what could possibly be going wrong here for Ghost.
I assume they can just look at video and kind of try to eyeball the Kalista jump. Obviously, no other way to
it's
test
hard
that one.
It's hard to confirm, but we have confirmation that we will be unpausing this one relatively soon. Anyway, and you can see DWG, some grins on the faces of these players. Wanting to get back into this game as quickly as we possibly can. DWG want to utilize that momentum, and if you're a DWG fan, you want to just get back on the Rift and get back into it and see whether this grand entrance is actually going to hit, as we were poised to see one over the wall there from Hoyt.
And I'm just really want to inspect how do you get over 3 pretty significant losing lanes. So far we've seen 6 minutes of tape, but I need another 9. I need to get to 15 and understand the level it takes, because if it's only a bit of a push, maybe it can be worth it to draw some scaling. It is a kind of weird League of Legends game to eyeball because we're so new to patch 9.2, and the jungle changes do shift a bit of burst power. There's more armor in the game, there's more MR. Everything is slowly poking things towards more inaction rather than action, and I don't think that's going to mean 94 minutes the dream, but maybe it does mean a little bit more scaling than we're used to, the possibility.
Yeah. It's crazy with the turret plates back in the game, though, because then we have game 2s that are still possible if you can win lanes hard enough to smash down those turret plates and deny them from your opponent.
But I think game 2 was so much about turret plates and the dive. It was both. And then it almost felt multiplicative, right? If you just get winning lanes and you end up with 4 turret plates, you're like, oh, that's a nice amount of gold with your good lanes. But when you also get the turret dive, immediate gold, and then they, of course, have less items when you return, and more turret plates go your way, it snowballs really hard. That felt multiplicative in game number 2, and recreating that without really tricky to pull off dives, like you need big spheres to pull off those dives, so that was the part where DAMWON deserved the credit. It wasn't just, well, you had nice lanes, congratulations, 2 turret plates.
Yeah, and of course we know that as far as the size of stones is concerned, Showmaker is certainly up there, the Katarina player extraordinaire. Just to let you guys know, back at home, Showmaker's solo queue now has 100% Katarina win rate for Season 9.
Still Predator, I think?
Yes, still Predator, still Predator.
I'm going to call out Our mate, Showmaker.
Oh, yeah.
I was sitting at home for that DAMWON gaming series against SKT. And SKT, was it SKT last time? Gus, the recent series where I believe it was blind pick Zoe.
Yeah.
If that was solo queue, I'm 100% certain he locks in Katarina.
Oh, I know.
And he went Syndra and lost. And I was very disappointed because that was the Predator Katarina game. And I feel like if he had had some better individual performance, he's kind of been on Lissandra, Urgot, Galio kind of duty. Yep. I bet if he was playing his 5th picks more reliably, that would have been a Katarina.
And we know that he was more than happy to do it in the Kesper Cup, but maybe a little bit less riding on the Kesper Cup. So the coach is not wanting to allow Showmaker to have free reign here in the LCK, where it all matters. Every single game is important. DAMWON especially feeling it right now. But I want to see the Katarina. We know what he can do.
It'll come. 100%. He plays it so much, and he's played, I believe, 4 pro games of it now in his career. He plays it enough that it's going to come out.
He's also played it against compositions that are really hard to play Katarina in and still won. Although that one that we saw most recently was not necessarily a Showmaker victory. Still positive KDA and stuff like that, though. He did absolutely fine. It's a restart of the client here, guys. So back into the game ASAP, but Ghost does need to jump back through. And as I talk about it, we're going to get the countdown.
Oh, there's actually 2 engagements happening.
Yeah, we've got a lot of excitement.
What's going to happen here?
Up as Control Ward jumps on over. Hoyt not going to be able to get it, but does get a flash out of the grand entrance this time. Hell yeah.
In 2019 on 9.2.
Woohoo!
That was the best grand entrance we've seen in pro play yet.
I got way too excited. I think it's one of my first woohoos on broadcast, and it was because he got a flash because of a grand entrance.
You're a play-by-play caster. You're allowed to get overexcited, Atlas.
I feel like sometimes we have to work out when to get overexcited, though, and that may not have been the right time. Nuclear is very far away from his lane because Hoyt is on walkabout, as we've spoken about many times.
On visible walkabout now, because of course we're seen ganking top side, so has to be the most economical Ezreal 1v2 player. Feels like he's playing 1v2 Morgana without any wave clear.
Yeah. Well, Hoyt runs really, really fast, but he's not actually running to help Nuclear at all.
So it turns out that Rakan is the screw you champion for support to play. This was a Nuclear pause, no doubt.
Oh,
Where's my support?
Yeah. I've lost my Rakan. He's no longer here. We can see him. He's on our screen right now.
We'll get the real confirmation about this pause, but it seems like Ghost still seems pretty visibly unhappy.
Yeah, but he thinks he's lagging, guys. That's what our producer is telling us at the moment.
Oh, we're playing a little music in the background.
Yeah, this is cool. Oh, I love this track as well.
What was your first thought when you heard this track of what it was about?
This is the, we've just had the redemption scene in our, like, drama show that we've been watching. And, like, everything's been redeemed and it's all okay. And
actually, when I hear it, I feel like they're selling cleaning products. Like when you listen to like the part where it goes up tempo, it's like, yes, it really did clean that item.
Oh, wow.
How unexpected. The stain came out.
Yeah, and now like the whole family has got back together as well, and now everyone's
hugging.
Happy again.
Even the dog's hugging. It's like, how did that even happen?
Yeah, how is it? He's on
how
his
many times
leg?
do they have to film that?
Yeah, and probably not that many because he just put some food on the shoulder or something like that, and he's just like actually eating the clothing. But you just have to put on that really big happy face if you're in the cleaning product ad. And understand that maybe it'll get better and you won't get rabies.
With this beard, I could probably actually be the father in that ad.
Yeah, I think the salt and pepper in the beard as well does help.
I'm available, Korean ad makers. I'm ready to be stoked about my stain being removed.
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, SANDBOX want their stain removed, and that was game number 2 of this series.
I don't know if enough GIF will be able to get that one out.
Yeah, maybe that's what's the problem with Ghost's computer. It's like he was too busy farming at the outer turret of the top lane when the game was over that his computers decided to give up. Wants to get out of there. Oh my god, it is exactly cleaning product.
I know!
And it's from like, you remember like the Danos Direct ads as well, where it's like
you're getting really specific on brands here.
Oh, that was
Give us more words, Atlas.
That was more like the advertising company where they like a brand pays for them to like tell you to go and buy it, and it's only on at like 3 a.m. in the morning when like, or in like daytime TV, and it's just terrible stuff. Oh my goodness. It's where you turn it on, you want to watch like The Simpsons when you were a kid, but you just straight up can't. Some DAMWON fans in the audience right now.
Feeling the pause here in game number 3. Refs trying to understand what's going on in this scenario, all on the computer of Ghost.
Yeah.
Could be another long night, Atlas. I did sit at home and appreciate the extended series is on Sunday.
Yep, I'm still 100% hit rate on the 3-game series. Brendan Valdez, he's a 4-game-a-night boy. That's what he does. I'm here for the long haul. And it continues to be true here in game number 3 of DWG versus SANDBOX. And Ghost, you can see, just doesn't look very happy. And he's on a champion where he's normally pretty happy on. And they're in a game position where things should be okay if Hoyt can settle down and stop getting flashes and getting ganks everywhere.
Definitely a draft that suits SANDBOX Gaming's previous win conditions of take over the early game and from there run away with it. They've been pretty clinical in closing out, sometimes with mistakes along the way, but largely they've had the zoomed out smarts to close out games pretty well from a lead, and like we mentioned, do seem set up for a lead without shenanigans being extensively used by DWG Gaming. So many fans joining us out here for a series that you would understand would be one of our more vacant ones. DWG Gaming and SANDBOX, the last 2 teams to join the LCK, and both of them around the mid-table in DWG Gaming and towards the top in SANDBOX Gaming. So the fan bases are new, but they just want to hit the rift and enjoy some more fun.
Yeah, it's more like the recency that's the issue here, because SANDBOX second on the ladder at the moment, DWG are 4th. These are certainly 2 of our hardest hitting teams. In our first couple of weeks of the LCK, it was only DWG that sort of fell off in their difficult week 2 that they just went through. But after what we saw in our second game of the night, DWG certainly capable of fighting back here. And now, looking at their faces, still feeling like they are very excited about getting to do some more winning in game number 3.
But what I want to see from DWG to fully crystallize in my head that this team can be a real contender, because actually now 4.5 series in, I do feel like my original prediction of them being a lot like TOP Gaming, where really some very talented players, Knight for example on TOP, one of the world's best mid laners, DWG have 5 very talented players.
Oh, damn right.
But sometimes their tendencies that allow them to just snowball through a victory like game number 2 count against them. They make some macro mistakes and just lose against teams where on a different day they could win. I feel like DWG Gaming have kind of crystallized as on their day it comes together like game 2 and like a house of fire. Everything just goes up in flames and it's an easy victory, but they can also be outthought. Their drafts don't always have the nuance if they don't have counterpick for Noguri, if Noguri isn't winning lane and other things don't fall into place, and yet we have similar concerns of what if OnFleek is behind on the side of SANDBOX. And I think there's been more sample size of SANDBOX getting through that, and when the game hasn't played into Noguri's hands, I think just straight up DWG haven't been able to find a 5th pick for Showmaker, a 5th pick for Nuclear. They haven't been able to show that they can find late game investment on someone other than Noguri and win. And that's what needs to kind of convince me over the course of 18 best of 3s that DWG Gaming won't just be kind of brute force or outthought in, say, a best of 5 scenario.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. I like that you brought up the fact that it's just a little bit more one-dimensional in what brings on a DWG victory as opposed to what brings on a SANDBOX victory. Because no matter what happens, SANDBOX will always be doing stuff in the mid-game as proactively as they possibly can. And that is what the meta recently has been asking of all of our LCK teams. And they've only been very few that have been able to step up to that plate and actually make that gameplay work and work in their favor. It's been frustrating to watch some of our now bottom tier teams, but formerly certainly dominant teams, not quite be able to make aggressive moves without having 100% of the information already. It feels like it's still those LCK warding battles that we've seen so much of, but that is not what is demanded of you. In a meta like this, what's demanded of you is get in there, get things happening, and take the stuff that's on the map as quickly as you can.
And I think we're, with the benefit of hindsight now, it can confirm what we were talking about last year. Because Atlas, you could say, oh, but they're new rosters, they're still getting it together, it's only week number 3, and if that was a vacuum, you'd be like, yeah, okay, that makes sense, right?
Yep.
But we sat there all of summer season when the meta was clearly transitioning towards what we see kind of codified today.
Exactly.
And there were so many games where, I know I was being very forthright saying, look, this is not fast enough. Yes, Kingzone won in 45 minutes or Genji won in 50 minutes, but that is not how the game will be played when we hit international tournaments. Went to Worlds and Korea came away embarrassed because the meta was being played in a different fashion. So because we have that extra information, we do know that the old nameplates are slowly adapting, and these are new nameplates, and that's why largely we have seen a lot more impetus for it not to be about, ooh, I got the deep control ward down. It's, no, I got the kill, or I got the turret, or I got the gold, which has been the struggle.
I think that's actually
getting some updates, and it seems like right now, just before you go on, we are getting the word that players were allowed some time to go for bathroom breaks, because the breaks have been now extended over the course of kind of 2 medium to long-term breaks.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a long pause, and there's been a new mouse installed for Ghost as well, and that hopefully will resolve this issue. If we get an immediate pause once again, then I think we'll know that in fact it didn't resolve the issue. And now I've completely forgotten what I wanted to talk about.
So let's talk about something you do want to talk about.
Oh, no, I do remember. Just to finish up what you're talking about sort of the meta and how it's changed, how it's evolved. I feel like what teams like SANDBOX are actually now doing for the meta is keeping it honest. We're keeping the LCK honest, whereas before it felt like the LCK as a whole had a gentleman's agreement that we're going to keep playing slow and it'll be fine. And then we went to Worlds and it didn't go quite so well.
It wasn't fine, right?
Yeah, now it's not. It's obviously not fine. And SANDBOX is saying, look, we're going to play like these hyper-aggressive teams from the rest of the world, and we're going to show you that it's going to win.
But you know what makes me upset? And that's actually an honest word here. Upset is, why did it take certain teams playing aggressively? Why wasn't it just, holy crap, we didn't win Worlds. We didn't win anything.
Yeah.
In 2018. To me, that should have been the kind of BS meter, right? That should have been the sign there. And then the roster changes happen. You're like, okay, these are more aggressive rosters. SKT has a lot of carries.
Yeah.
Other teams have some hard carries. It felt like that actually was a response to Worlds, and yet the gameplay from the teams with the changes has been slow again. That's the part that's disappointing to me, is it's kind of 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, now being pushed forward by DAMWON Gaming, Griffin, and other things. That part is strange. So that's disappointing. It does make me upset. But I guess in hindsight, they are doing our region a great service, because teams are going to be looking at SANDBOX and Griffin first, and then DAMWON after that, and learning about the new meta and seeing you can't just wait a while. You need to hit the ground running.
Yeah, you certainly do. And of course, it was a bit of a humbling experience. Us here at the LCK pretty good at winning for every other year, it feels like, and now finally falling as Invictus Gaming now the champions moving into 2019. This is a very different year, and when you have a humbling experience like that, watching the rebuilding and watching all the change that has happened and what's unfolded here in the LCK is actually been very eye-opening, and watching what SANDBOX has been able to show us as far as proactive play has been a great demonstration of what went wrong, honestly.
Insanest thing, think about the common factor between Griffin, SANDBOX, and DAMWON. Roster changes were very small to none.
Yeah.
And the playstyle updates, this is not the Team Battle comics we saw promote. They are showing a different strategy here as SANDBOX. I think they have been raising the level of play around it, but the roster's staying the same. But still, playing the aggressive style, playing the meta has been very fun to track on both sides.
And also we've seen that, you know, the Challenger meta has been generally faster for the last 12 months or something anyway. I mean, Griffin were in the spring season of 2018, certainly making a lot of very coordinated but very aggressive early moves in games as well. So Griffin, as they promoted in 2018, I feel like that was part of the reason why they were making such a dream run, is because it felt like their leash was about as long as you could ever have one.
But interestingly, they updated their leash, because they went from in spring season with Rather in Challengers, which a lot of our viewers wouldn't have the benefit of watching as there is no English Challengers broadcast. That was a lot of, we'll win a 30-minute team fight, first 25 minutes, Rather's farming on mid lane Vladimir or Galio. They were a very slow team, but they always hit the ground running in the late game. And they still are amazing in the late game team fights. In summer season, they did have more assertive moves. The meta was more unpredictable with awesome dudes and funnel strategies. This season, they have been largely faster, but can fall back to winning in the late game. But they did change coming into LCK. They have updated every split they've played. That's the nice kind of pleasure about watching Griffin, is they look at the meta and they have their own read on it. It involves different champions the most, and they play a style that works for them. And I think teams that try to copy them without the players, without the communication style, without all the intangibles, recreating what they do is actually really hard.
Yeah, exactly right. I feel like Griffin as well just don't let teams do what Griffin's capable of doing to them, which is something that's very, very difficult when you're playing in a chaotic meta like this, that SANDBOX have already shown us is something that can certainly work. Just going back to Baron over and over again multiple times can actually work. And it feels like SANDBOX Gaming are kind of like taking a big old mallet to solve a problem, and Griffin is a little bit more like finesse.
And to me, a lot of people use the words fiesta and other words talking about games which feel low quality. And usually when a lot of people die, people sometimes make the mistake of saying it's a low quality game. But just because one team's being aggressive on one side of the map, another team on the other, and sometimes kills come off and don't, a bloody game isn't always a good game or a bad game. To me, if you're a viewer and you want to know how can I appreciate whether a game of League of Legends is good or bad, I feel like so much's changed and I don't really understand. To me, if you look at a game and in 14 minutes all turret plates are up, that's a bad game. If no turret plates have been going down and everyone's just farming with the minion wave 50% down and there's no threat on either side, no aggressive moves have been made, that to me is the new low quality game, because that is the inaction. That is nothing being responded to or enacted. That's just, you know, the truce. And the truce is what should not be happening, because the gold goes away. You could say, get your items, then fight. But then you fight after 6,000 gold leads are not going to be there because the turret plates aren't there to cash in. You need to fight early. So that's what I want people around the world to kind of further appreciate, is that games where turret plates go down are the standard. In Korea, if you see the slower games with no turret plates, that should be the anachronism that needs to go away.
Yeah, and I like that you bring that up, because we were talking about the S word, that scaling word that is such a dirty word, and that is exactly why. It's because you are basically giving up all of that potential gold in the early game just so that you can have a champion that's just going to get snowballed on in the mid game anyway. These late game champions and late game strategies can certainly work if you've got one that you're going to invest in and then have a couple of lanes that can pick up some plates and pick up a little bit more to bridge you. But it's all about getting a bridge for a late game win condition rather than let's just get some scaling and then we'll wait till the late game and try and go for a win.
And DWG Gaming on paper are guilty of kind of what we're talking about, right?
We've seen three, right?
And also in this game, 3 losing lanes. However, you can get scaling more reliably if you make the game unpredictable with Rakan roaming around with 300 gold first back timing boots, with ganks happening. That is a way to kind of leave the risky draft at one side and say, yes, risky, but we think we can play this draft uniquely well. Let's get there at a reasonable time by not making this game farm, farm, farm. Because if it's a farm, farm, farm game, SANDBOX Gaming have a 5,000 gold lead of 14 minutes.
Yeah, exactly right. And so we'll see whether we're going to be back into it relatively soon, because I just want to see whether or not SANDBOX are going to be able to salvage what has been a first blood going over to DWG Gaming, but not necessarily something that's represented in the gold at this particular point in time. At the moment we're seeing, these are Hoyt's friends actually on the screen right now. Bit of a whiting being thrown out to him, and he's going to need it on his very slow grand entrance. What are we going to call it now? The good entrance? Because it's just not as grand anymore?
We could say grand in a more like sarcastic way.
The grand entrance. Do we need to have that pause every time? It might be difficult for me in a team fight.
You know what? I believe in one thing with you, Atlas, and it's your team fights.
Thanks, Chris. How are we doing in the pause? Can we give it a rating out of 10? How are we doing?
8 out of 8, Atlas.
8 out of 8? Damn, I'm killing it. My team fights are even better. Can you believe it? Oh my goodness. This has been taking a very long time, and that's not only going to be difficult for us to find the momentum back in this game, but it's also going to be very difficult for these players, especially on the side of SANDBOX, that are starting to get frustrated at Ghost for holding this one up for so long. It's such a weird thing to have an issue with when there's no lag on the computer that has been detected, and it's all about the mouse being a little bit of a problem.
And also because this game was kind of DAMWON creatively being super aggressive in the early game where maybe they didn't have the kind of weapons to do so, and now it's that draining 25-minute scenario for them of waiting, and then it's, by the way, go back to being crazy aggressive in a scenario that most people wouldn't be. That's actually hard. It's hard to slip back into that. So we'll watch DWG Gaming and hope that we can see some big aggressive plays.
And it's not like the last pause, which was a little bit shorter, and there were players just all on top of each other. I believe this is more of a we're pausing and we're going to jump back to a couple of people in the river clearing our vision and things like that. So not a huge deal as far as in the particular moment, but in the vibe of the game and how we're sitting, it is going to be a different story. Looks like Ghost not going to be getting as much attention at this point, so it may potentially be a time for us to get back into this game and see whether or not the new mouse is actually going to work.
We can only talk about what we know, and right now, it's at the game finally poised in the early game. SANDBOX could blow it open. DWG Gaming could find a way back in.
Yeah,
we're not being able
no problems have been detected at all
diagnosed
by anything. So Ghost might all be in his head, and maybe his name is a little bit ironic. He may have a little ghost in his mouse or something like that, but nothing has been detected. So,
it's such an intangible one as well.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
You feel bad kind of on both sides, the fact that the pause is extending and the fact that Ghost is going to have to play. If we do resume in a not-so-happy spot, I'd like to think he's talking to me. And if so, I'll see you after the match.
All right. He just made the
I
death
know.
sign.
That's why I said I'll see him after the match.
Well, I mean, he also said something really nice about SANDBOX, and I'm just confused. There's just conflicting ideas going on here. I hope someone can translate the Korean for us, because that guy confused me a lot. As now, I think Ghost is probably going to get the bad news that like he's just going to have to suck it up, and play some League of Legends.
Shush, Atlas.
That's Ghost, actually.
That's a really good drawing, too.
He's like, shh, let's take a timeout. Says the Holy Spirit, and that's a phone behind it as well. Oh, man, that's cool. That's really cool.
Looks really good.
Yeah.
Creative stuff. Some great signs over at Overwatch Contenders we saw as well. Some of the locomotive signs, so I'm liking the creativity here.
We need to have a sign competition now, because I think that was why they were so good at Contenders. You actually get awarded for different stuff for doing it.
The sun was in my eyes for this, on the zoom in there.
I know, right?
Oh, good news, guys.
Oh, we'll get another restart of the PC. Let's hope that he's got a solid-state hard drive in order to get us back as quickly as possible. And I have a feeling that we probably do have SSDs this point in time.
It's the longest podcast of 2019 LCK so far.
Yeah, SANDBOX, let's go Rift Rivals. But, I mean, SANDBOX has to get into Game 3 before that can happen, guys. Let's do first things first.
Here's what I'll say to people. You might say that sounds unlikely. They're struggling right now. They might even lose to DWG. However, Atlas, MVP went to Rift Rivals in 2017 in pretty similar scenario to SANDBOX. It was very unlikely that MVP would finish 4th in the regular season of spring, but they got there, and now, of course, relegated. This is the first split we've been away from MVP and BBQ.
It's a little bit sad. Yeah, of course, BBQ not here, and the free chicken days no longer happening. Hopefully, that's why we actually brought LS onto the broadcast, by the way, guys, so that we'd have an opportunity to get some more free chicken. That's actually entirely untrue.
And there's been no free chicken, so I can
there hasn't been.
Confirm that.
He's straight up failed.
You
and you're also going to miss out every time because you guys don't cast together.
Hey, we can find a time.
We can find a time?
We can find a time. Double color, not normally the way things go, so LS Papa, like you mentioned, isn't scheduled, but enough people get sick, Atlas, and anything's possible.
Hey, that's true. I could coordinate it. Brendan and I could have the right off cheese so that you guys can have a night of Papa LS.
I'm down for whatever. We're weird and wonderful sometimes at the LCK.
Oh my goodness, it'd be L Smithy. That's so good. I thought @LS was good, but I realized that actually just sounds like it'd be LS's Twitter or Instagram handle, and I'm not actually a part of that combination at all.
I mean, he has a pretty weird Twitter handle already.
He does.
With all the X's and Y's and stuff.
It's LSXYZ9? 9? Yeah, something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah. But
I don't know if you guys should follow that account because we don't know if that's actually his account. Nick needs to clean up his SNS, I think.
Man, yeah, there's like 60,000 followers that just got it wrong. It's not actually him, apparently.
I mean, it could be worse. It could be LSXX420, you know, like.
Yeah, blaze it.
But I feel like we're pretty close to
underscore.
I don't know if that's where you want to go.
Yeah, that's true. At least he doesn't have underscores in weird positions, because that's
true.
Frustrating. That can be frustrating.
The L for I swap, I'm not a big fan of that either.
Yeah, no, don't like that. I feel like you've just got to accept that your name's been taken and then do something else. Make it a little bit different.
Well, the coaches are chatting still. Probably not game-related talk, a little bit like us.
Yeah, probably just chilling out, wanting this to start all over again. Probably asking the question as to whether or not the issue is in Ghost's head or not. Noguri, though, I wonder what he's thinking about. It looks like he's thinking very intently about something, but I'm not entirely sure what it is. Maybe just trying to get his head back into the game because he's just trying to scale on this Vladimir. Now that he's got a flashless Jace, things might be better. Top side of the map for this man.
We don't have items revealed to you, but he actually had to go for Seeker's Arm Guard Rush. So remember that Noguri has kind of set the world meta in terms of the Vladimir builds, going for Fiendish and Kindle Gem early. Can't build those against Jace, you just die in a 1v1. So his scaling certainly going to be delayed. His lane presence also delayed because you need to pack up and get that 1,700 gold worth of items. So 2,800 to get the items going rather than the 1,700 of before. Watching OnFleek and Dove as we wait here. Everyone equally frustrated around the world that we are so extensively delayed in game number 3.
I'm trying to work out who it affects the most, because you can see DAMWON on their side. I mean, they've got no issue. They're just waiting to get back into the game, but it can be annoying when your opponent has an issue like this. But so far, they're the ones that look like they're much happier. And SANDBOX, they have lost the first blood, but they know that they have, you know, really, really strong lanes and can definitely just jump into some comfort. Some nerf champions on 9.2 now being wielded by DAMWON.
Again, shout out to the crowd for coming in thick and fast for a match that, with a different start.
Today.
Not being a packed house for DWG Gaming versus SANDBOX would definitely be a reasonable thing, but it is packed, and it's a sign.
That was my expectation coming over today. I was like, oh, we might have not as many people in the audience, but
it really does take time to pick up steam because in challenges there's very often no crowd. So these live fan bases do grow over time. SANDBOX being 4-0 definitely has helped them out when it comes to the start here in DWG Gaming. The hype has been around the world scene with all their talk of their scrims and also the fact that they made semifinals of Kesper Cup.
Have been infamous for quite some time. And if, you know, a lot of people have access to OPGG, so you can see a lot of the names of the DWG players in the top 5s.
Not so much recently. We've had the big reset right now, so the only advantage of the current scenario is that when you try to scout by team, people only have one account live because they're just ranking up on their first account, no second or third accounts to muddy the waters.
That's true, and you can also have a look at their season stats on champions, and you know you've got the most recent week of champions as well, which is absolutely fantastic for us. Means that if, you know, players choose different accounts to play on as well, I mean, Jug King has not been an account that's been utilized just recently, so Canyon is, he's been invisible to me. I wanted to see what he was doing.
Very visible on the screen.
Yeah.
Again, invisible on a pick like Camille. We've seen none of that.
No, been banned in every single game so far of this series.
Known for a lot of those aggressive dueling picks, a lot of Talia in the 2018 season, but of course Talia, a sometimes champion for Canyon and the rest of the LCK.
Yeah, there's been a few that have been trying their hand. I feel like Talia is very, very situational. Ref's on your screen right now, and they've just got a really difficult task at hand right now. You know, like, you got a player that comes to you and says, like, this is wrong. It's like when your kid comes up to you and says, hey, my foot hurts, and then there's absolutely no reason for their foot to hurt, but they're obviously in pain, but there's no way of being able to feel that and understand that it's actually true.
And even understanding what should happen now, it's very hard for us to speculate on how things can go. I think we are hopefully going to reach a resolution as soon as possible. You could understand many different tacts of, you talked about the deal with it. That one's the one that feels the worst because then everyone is feeling a little bit off, especially Ghost. New picks and bans, it feels like it's such a hard thing to prove exactly the parameters that new picks and bans coming in. Seems like a pretty heavy price, and the early game has gone better for DWG Gaming. Would they even accept in a scenario like that? So
yeah,
really is an awkward scenario when you understand everyone just being a little bit downtrodden, as all we want to do is play some League of Legos.
And if you're going to get it remade, and especially if you've just lost first blood in a laning phase where you should have been ahead, that is when you'd need proof that there is something that's gone wrong. And so far as we know, there has been no proof actually provided. So we are going to resume the game, ladies and gentlemen. This has been an epic one, as it's already 7:30. Man, we are on the cusp of getting ready for the next match. Not going to be happening
We'll
for
try
quite
and
some time.
further you guys any communication if we get any more specifics about the issue. But back to live. It's been a while.
Here we go. Okay.
So a reminder, DWG Gaming, very, very risky. 3 losing lanes comp that has some very strong mid to late game team fighting with the Vladimir Wombo. SANDBOX Gaming, they want to just do their bread and butter. Take turret plates, punish the weak early laning phases, and the amount that Hoyt has roamed, it's 7 minutes 50. He's probably been in lane about 2 minutes 50.
Thankfully, he made it to level 4, so that's certainly good news. But you can see Nuclear has been denied a heck of a lot of experience because Ghost is already level 6, and he's been duo laning almost this whole time. Hook not going to land there from Ghost.
And actually, it's pretty relevant on Ezreal because while he has that cheaper build, it's a cheaper build that takes time, and that time hasn't started. The clock is at 0 because there's no tier. Needed Sheen to even be able to trim the wave from range. So this Ezreal is one that, you know, 500,000 gold behind might actually be relevant in the early to mid game, where usually you can kind of grin and bear it as Ezreal.
Well, right now you've got Canyon actually hanging out down here on the bottom side of the map. The Aatrox was thinking about a lane gank, which is not something that you would normally be able to make work, but with 7 CS the lead for Summit, Noguri is in a very nice spot after that flash went down and the extra respect was needed.
Also, especially when you compound that with no turret plates down on mid or top.
Yeah. Just one to be taken so far this game on SANDBOX's side, which is understandable. It is going to equate for a bit of a lead, though, as Dove's going to land the Trouble Bubble, and the Taunt is going to deny the follow-up damage from anything other than an auto attack.
Hard to extend a lead other than maybe turret plates in mid lane, but this is how the matchup goes when Liandry's is done. Luden's is done. That's where Dove can really make Showmaker hurt. Canyon going to be spotted on a ward.
Yeah, just going to walk straight in, just trying to clean up this minion wave so that they can get Showmaker a back timing.
And it was Canyon and Hoyt going between lanes, and honestly, Canyon needs to show himself in lanes a lot, whether it's a successful gank or just the ability for one of the losing lane matchups to get a preferential back. Anything like that is big when in equilibrium. Other things being equal, SANDBOX Gaming should be extending leads every minute of the first 14.
Well, the thing that I want to bring your attention to is the top lane. Summit has just made his way back to this lane so can clean out a minion wave, but that lead was basically gone as Noguri went back, and he has that Fiendish Codex. He's building towards the Kindle Gem with the Ruby Crystal. Vladimir is almost out of the woods as level 9 right around the corner.
It's not like it is a complete bailout, no government bailout even with 2 CDR items, but like you say, level 9 gets better. It is.
That flash still not back off cooldown just yet, meaning that Summit doesn't have the advantage that he otherwise would.
Bleak, we'll see if he has any turret dive attempts here, as you can actually burst Noguri even before his pool is armed. Noguri himself, farm, trying to weather that storm, and so far, again, the game being largely even, 800 gold lead, it reads to SANDBOX, but I actually side with DWG Gaming, probably deserving to be behind 3,000 to 5,000 gold in the first 15 minutes, and not being behind by any significant margin is advantage DWG Gaming as the game goes on.
Yeah, I think just have a look at those numbers on the towers, guys. If you can see that there haven't been at least 3 or 4 turret plates taken by SANDBOX, minimum, absolutely, then this is a lost early game. For this composition, that should be just hard smashing these guys in these lanes.
And then the execution is less reliable in a team fight. Team fight Jace, the Zoes who we've seen pop off if you're Grace, and honestly underperform most of the other Zoes we've had recently.
And Showmaker was one of them that did not find the Zoe performance that they wanted. Noguri, you got to get any
a lot of SANDBOX here
happening. Is okay. That's a level 7. So Worldender is available. Hero's entrance from Showmaker to get him around there as the pull has to be used very early, but Ignite ticking down. DWG Gaming, Noguri gets all of his health back there, but otherwise a dicey team fight. And
because Zoe does the same mid, no turret plate to punish, so 50-50 between the two teams, which again is fine by the perspective of DWG. Joker walks up, they'll get a Rift Scuttle, and the Rift Herald on the back end will be the sort of early objective that DWG Gaming still can't really fight for.
Exactly. Turret plate being threatened and is going to go down here, so Summit doing his job up there. And if we do the count, I believe that's 2 that have been picked up now.
Might be 2 on the bot side as well. It was very close to the second
3,
one.
so
It is
3.
confirmed.
We need 1 more before we call this a lost early game.
Rift Herald, I think.
2 minutes to do it.
If you're SANDBOX here, you need an early Rift Herald too, so we'll see if they just pop it down the top side. That'd be a good place to go to slow down this laning phase. Here it is, straight off of spawn.
Oh, not going to get that hook there from Joker.
This is really good from SANDBOX. This is the moment where the game can really be won or lost. How much can they get?
Yep, teleport going to come in here, but Shelly, she's charging on forward. That's all that money And 1.5 minutes now before those turret plates are going to fall down, so good timing.
But not ideal to be split between 3 members. You want Jace to pick all of it up, but ever since the range on 9.1 for acquisition was extended, things can be bad. Here's the gank.
Yeah, quickness has been procced, and that looks fast enough on the grand entrance. The Summit comes in with the teleport. Canyon's going to get punished, and DAMWON Gaming not going to be able to find the gank at all, and Ghost is going to be fine.
They knew the ult was down, and they want more.
Yeah, Hoist just going to get kicked. On Fleek coming on forward, and SANDBOX just using their extra power that they have with these champions and on Fleek, respecting Noguri, so he isn't going to go down in any trade.
DWG Gaming trying to outnumber, but it's too early. They should not be making these moves when SANDBOX still in a great spot. Canyon thought he had threat in a 2v1, but TP is up, and Canyon had no ultimate. He was used in Vision, that cooldown. Pretty significant early. They come in and just watch how much threat is actually on Ghost. That's ult into Grand Entrance. They get the CC down. Yes, a bit hits, but from there, no more threat from Canyon. And Summit says, I'm a Jace. I got plenty of gold, and they just kill Canyon where he stands.
Yeah, the World Ender just wasn't quite enough, and when you see the quickness Grand Entrance combo working like that alongside an Aatrox, normally you'd feel like an AD carry is dead, but Ghost uses the heal, keeps himself alive. And the follow-up was good from on Fleek as well, so he's now 1-0-0, and the Lee Sin is getting to a way better position, feeling like a lot more at game number 1 than game number 2 on Fleek.
So 14 minutes in, 2,500 gold. To me, that is a little bit below par. It's decent, it's about on point from SANDBOX, but it's not the sort of gold lead that could have happened in a different game. DWG Gaming, they still have their top lane turret. It means still a short lane for Vladimir, and it means that his farming can continue. He's got his early core, but no more, so they still don't want a team fight till that first big item purchase is done for DWG Gaming, which might actually be the Void Staff, but perhaps in a game like this, you go Proto Belt into Zonias, your AP total is a bit lower, but your solo death threat also a bit lower.
Noguri now has a level advantage here up against Summit. It's getting real scary to be the Jace, who takes that Tides of Blood transfusion combo not as nicely as he'd otherwise want to. On Fleek moving on up, Dove is here as well. They just want to take down this turret as the Q lands. They really want to take out the Sanguine Pool, but he holds onto it for so damn long. Uses it in the end. Q doesn't land as the Hemo play gives the health back. SANDBOX should be able to continue the pressure topside.
Dove actually gave up on that play. He could have continued to chase and get a Paddle Star in. Instead pulled away, maybe expecting the Vladimir wouldn't actually be killable.
Hero's entrance was available from Showmaker to get him up towards the top side as well, so maybe they were factoring that in.
Could be.
With Canyon's position on the map unknown.
Again, less threat from this Vladimir than the previous 2 times as in Noguri on the pick.
On Fleek spotted here by Canyon, level 8 to the level 9 of the Lee Sin, who picked up that kill earlier on. This is going to easily steal away these camps though, and Umbral Dash is thankfully a little dash, but enough to get out of the way of the extended range of the Q.
For on Fleek to potentially wrap around or hold the minion wave. Seems like the wrap around, but Noguri has confirmation of his position there.
And a 14 CS advantage over the Jace in this lane. Summit not having the game that he wanted. Of course, MVP of game number 1. Not so much. We've seen Jaces failing a lot more than we otherwise would in lanes where they should be feeling pretty good. Showmaker not going to use the flash there as Dove has to cleanse, gets himself out of the way, and doesn't even have to use the portal jump as in the mid lane. I believe World Ender was actually procced there by Canyon. Yes, it was.
A lot of tools used for very little gain, and they lose TP bot side as well. So, ball in the hands there. DWG Gaming once again trying to bite off more than they can chew. SANDBOX can't really take much from it in terms of turret plates. Those have gone away. Can they get Infernal Drake Vision lead? As the Infernal Drake should extend the scenarios where SANDBOX should find objectives that DWG Gaming is still not fully ready to fight for.
Yeah, and it looks like SANDBOX just want to be able to get some more of these turrets, get some more of that global gold, continue that extension of the advantage that they have. Unable to actually follow these minion waves further forward. The thing I want to talk about, Papa, is what these compositions are both going to be trying to do in the later stages of the game. I'm looking at a Zoe Jace comp feeling like Siege is going to work out very, very well for a lot of poke that they have available to them, and a lot of disengage options with Joker being able to play further forward, utilizing the ultimate available from Ghost. But I think DAMWON's going to be happy if you've got them pressed up further forward, because Noguri then gets that free ride into the back line if he gets the right teleport flank or positioning.
The way I like to look at comps like SANDBOX is, you can think of it as win lane, win game, because it was 3 winning lanes, right? And we talked about how that goes. But to me, it's kind of like a bridge comp where Kalista Thresh can, given the expected gold lead in the early game around fights over something like an Infernal Drake, do that early game team fighting. But clearly on a purely team fighting scale, you can't deal with backline access and AoE wombo if you're SANDBOX Gaming. Team fighting wise in the late game, it's definitely a huge advantage. But it's supposed to be, okay, we can actually, with a gold lead, win team fights early, and then in the late game, if we get the Baron, which again, we should have a vision lead because we had 3 winning lanes, we can siege. That's how these comps work. However, they can be at danger of being muddied if you ever make a mistake. If it gets to 30 minutes and you're at even gold, you take the team fight comp in the late game every time from DAMWON. So it's risky to run comps like this from SANDBOX. Traditionally, or recently, they've been able to play them out. You make one big mistake, and that big mistake might be now. Things can go away from you.
Yeah, turret's going to come down. 4 members of DAMWON up towards the top side. It's the quickness. Still works this time. Good knockup from the hero's entrance as Showmaker can't find the taunt target. Trouble Bubbles are now in amongst this fight, but the trade is good for DAMWON Gaming. The dive forward as Noguri gets exploded. No Hemoplague to be followed up on this time as Paddlestar does work onto Showmaker, but doesn't get the Trouble Bubble. Can On Fleek do it? Can he make the big kick play? Flash was available, but he didn't have the opportunity.
There's no wombo engage. It was still too early for that, as Noguri found out front row. We back away, Flash up on Fleek, but no real direction he could pull off the play. Wants to steal away the blue buff, he will.
Yep. And safeguards his way over that wall as well, so everything is fine. DAMWON lying in wait here, looking for Ghost.
He's actually looking down the lane for one Ezreal here. He's not expecting this.
Yeah, there's the flash in. See you later, Kalista. You are dead this time. Not going to be out. Oh! Survives! What the heck was that? Turns it all around, and SANDBOX Gaming used their early advantage. It's not over yet, though. The explosion does finally come in as Noguri has to flash to get out, but still, I'll be typing worth to the end of me life in the all chat. On Fleek, trying to jump on top of Summit, doesn't actually need to, has low health bars on DAMWON, and a beautiful play out of Ghost.
Skipping mad at the end, and no ability to finish it up because those items aren't there. The damage is lower than they realize. SANDBOX Gaming, the damage is going to be done in terms of objectives finally. Second turret of the game. Definitely feeling the fact that the early game was a lot slower for DAMWON Gaming. An extra 200 damage, things are different. It doesn't come in. And now the gold lead is actually generating at a decent clip by SANDBOX.
Oh yeah, let's have a look at this fight one more time. The tower goes down, and DAMWON, that is an advantage for you guys, but they decide to go further forward because they do have Hoyt, they do have the engage options. Just doesn't quite work out.
Damage out of position on SANDBOX, so that's actually a nice assertive first pick, but Noguri just caught in the front line. They have no more chase after Hero's entrance is down on the other players. Watch the replay of this. Ghost comes in with a CS lead, an item lead, gets hit by the stun. Let's watch the end of this play though. He has someone to heal. The Q was half a Teemo away from just killing Kalista, and then she's able to do her thing in the backline. Noguri cleans up a single kill, but no more. Man, it was so close, but no cigar. DAMWON Gaming.
Well, what's going to happen now, Papa? Because Ghost is very close to finishing that QSS, now has those 2 items that a Kalista wants every single game, a 40 CS advantage. I mean, Ghost, I have a feeling that the mouse issues have been resolved, because that was one hell of a play.
There's soon going to be no ability to play Kalista live. It's not quite the Nocturne Galio comp that just deletes Kalista that Gango had to deal with when he played Kalista, but consider in the future, 4-item Vladimir, 4-item Galio burst. How do you actually hop around aggressively and try to get Ren sets when there's AoE damage out the wazoo? You probably don't, right? That's the difficulty there. But now, at these item timings, there's still that possibility. This is the time where Ghost needs to actually hit every one of those passes, min-max his damage in a team fight. No one is stronger on the Rift than Ghost is right now. So he absolutely wants to have no little voices in the back of his head. He needs to actually pilot the next team fight and get that wipe that is potential here for SANDBOX Gaming. Otherwise, those item completions are coming. I see the first needless large rod of many in the inventory of Noguri.
Yeah, he's looking for that big hat on the top side of the map. That is his build path. He leaves the Fiendish Codex because now he has 40% CDR with his runes, with Transcendence, things like that.
Scaling CDR in the first tree of the base runes as well.
Yeah, the Cosmic Insight giving him that extra 5% availability. So this Vladimir is able to QQQ, and it actually works well. This time around, as Ghost now with his Hurricane and the QSS is done. Kalista feeling great.
Honestly, there's 3 champions on the side of SANDBOX that probably never feel better than they do right now at their current item timings. Jace, Lee Sin, and the Kalista, I would group into that.
Zoe is also another champion that does thrive on 1.5 items with the Magic Pen as well as the Ludens.
Meanwhile, Vladimir only gets exponentially stronger with every item. His passive guarantees that, and his AoE confirms that as well. The Galio, again, going to be largely about burst. It is patch 9.2. Even the late game burst is still largely there. But these are the resting moments where AoE wombo doesn't matter because the map control was surrendered in the early game.
Oh, here's the fight, actually. Quickness does tie a couple up as the Kalista is going to die this time. Joker gets a nice triple play, but he's going to follow him. The Oathsworn going to go into the Death Chamber. And SANDBOX, they lose the bottom lane this time. Can they clean up?
And how did that start? That's the question I don't know the answer to, because 2 picks is a very heavy price on the top side of the map. And Kalista especially dying with both summoners. Kick used.
Yeah, kickback onto Showmaker as OnFlake just gets himself taunted and dies. Okay, SANDBOX throwing their lives away as Noguri takes a lot of damage here. The pull is going to negate a lot of that damage, but it's not enough. And the CC lasts for too long for that pull to work.
Both sides making some pretty big mistakes. 2 freebies to both teams. Ends up just being 2 for 2. Overall, not sure how that started on the top side, but the ending there was some pretty big mistakes from Noguri again. Been caught with his hand in the cookie jar a couple of times, coming for a late flank and just died where he stood.
Needed to go back anyway. Had a needlessly large rod to buy as, just a face check, Papa.
Face check for a ward. I believe it's actually Kalista putting down the control ward on the more advanced brush. Thank you very much, says Canyon. Dies instantly. Here's the replay, though, of the end. Why does OnFlake go in? Is a question we don't know the answer to.
Sometimes Lee Syndrome needs no explanation.
And this is just bad from Noguri again. He's just really not thinking about where the map state is at and the fact that Jace and Zoe have free farmed. And we talked about how their items never get better. Turns out, definitely good enough to take down Noguri.
Yeah, straight up. But here on the bottom side of the map, the Vladimir does need to clean up this minion wave. So this time, SANDBOX have an opportunity to get that vision there for free and for real. And control around the Baron Pit is something that you have to be very careful of for DWG Gaming, because SANDBOX are not scared of pulling the trigger on that one. I feel like that's why they're so good at playing around these 2-item spike type compositions, because at moments like this, they're able to create a game that they can't lose. 3,000 gold, though, is not a big enough lead to deal with this flanking Noguri Vladimir. What they can actually do about it, we'll have to find out.
Oh, actually drawn out of Canyon, was worried about a paddle star. He has to walk up. It means he doesn't have this. He's re-engaging.
Yeah, he's deciding to use it for an engage tool now as the Oathsworn is going to be pulled back. The Kalista, can she actually get any work done in this fight? As Summit just dives on forward, looking to delete Hoyt. Not going to be able to do so, but now Canyon is dead, because there's no opportunity to utilize the World Ender and the flash forward from Showmaker, but it's on to Joker. Can they get anything more as Noguri dives onto Dub in the back line, but the Hemoplague's not going to kill him. Paddlestar also not going to work out. He's going to be there. Tides of Blood doing some work as Noguri's able to dance around, but Ghost doing the same thing. The Ren not going to get the first kill, and the trade is going to come in. Nuclear also now able to get the DPS through. But DWG Gaming not going to be able to get anything more.
Ghost thought the game was on the line there. Thought they get a couple of kills, a Baron, and close it out. It doesn't happen. Nuclear actually takes him down where he stands. Every fight that goes even brings on a time where team fights will be much less even because of DWG Gaming's comp. And it all starts in just full panic stations on the side of DWG. Canyon has to pop his ultimate there because he's afraid of just being one-shot if he doesn't pop it. They re-engage, but Galio doesn't use Hero's Entrance. They don't want to engage. They know there is no death cap onto Noguri. So a lot of indecision on the side of DWG Gaming. Meant the SANDBOX were ripe to take down a fight at one of the last few junctures where their team comp can actually find isolated members, burst one down, and reload and reset again and again. Not quite the damage on Noguri to take down the Zoe in the back line. We're so close. The forecast was there for rain, and damn can we see the rain clouds. But nothing started just yet, and both teams still dead at Dream.
Yeah, this is really, really scary, but what the result was, what it felt like to me, 3-0-3 now on Nuclear. This guy is getting to the point where the Ezreal scaling factor is not going to be an issue. He's almost got that double tier stacked up to the Seraph's Embrace as well as the Muramana. Ezreal hitting that late game timing very, very nicely, and Ghost, so short range against this composition is very scary. SANDBOX's window feels like it's closing faster than we may have predicted.
Again, it wasn't scary until now. Now it really feels scary. Now you have to really second guess your positioning and be happy you are able to maintain your flash in the next team fight. Because actually, SANDBOX Gaming's comp, when it got to the point that we're at, about 27 minutes, the best thing to do is put down as many control wards around the Baron and then hit that trouble bubble and delete one. Because your Baron's secure with Kalista and then the Jace potentially to group in and do damage. You want to group and then lay down, poke and turn pick by picking someone when they try to contest the Baron. 50-50 team fights, we're probably, like you say, at the point where DWG wins at least 7 out of 10. And that number only goes up. They continue to poke around. DWG aren't able to get vision. That's the hard part still for DWG Gaming. But they can kite upwards, put down their own wards, and make SANDBOX accountable.
Yeah, they're going to be able to get at least vision control, but the Baron has been started, and Noguri is happy to tank it as well. He's got so much ability to regen his health. SANDBOX moving on over half the health bar now on this Baron buff, and like you say, Hoyt looking for it, gets in there, Grand Entrance doesn't work. As the Battle Dance means that the quickness doesn't do anything. Summit into the backline this time is looking for that deletion, but he is taken down instead. They're going to trade back as Ghost is dancing around the fight, but that Ezreal that we were talking about, so much damage availability, and Joker is going to be traded. This backline dive on Summit looks so close to being good.
And Hoyt trips on the way to the engage, but doesn't matter. Vladimir was able to put down Hebenblade. The team turns on to Summit, and Joker in the front line easily take him down. That's the confirmation. The sweet hat was there, Atlas, and the sweet hat means that SANDBOX need to be creative. And on Fleek waiting for such a creative move.
Well, Dove looking for his engage opportunity on Fleek as well. You can see just the kick is what he wants, but Noguri is not the target that he wants to hit with it. He's going to do so anyway. That's a weird fight to take. I would not be fighting that wizard Vladimir with his sweet hat. SANDBOX now going back to their natural habitat, which is the Baron Pit.
Honestly, that's really their only win condition at this point is control Baron area and turn and pick. That's really all they can do because the ease of execution by Noguri against this comp is very high. Smite is going to be claimed by Canyon. Doesn't go to the Galio, but Smite is claimed. They have to make this game about Baron, so it plays into SANDBOX. They run at it. How will DWG play this? Hemoplague back off cooldown.
Well, vision certainly available here for DWG. That is very late teleport, though, as the Ren stacks are sticking in there, and Ghost has decided to commit on Fleek's there. They do take it down, and the safeguard is beautiful. Flashes over the wall as Dove, the only one to be traded, and SANDBOX will take that any day of the week.
They needed to be assertive. That was the right move. Roll the dice. If not now, then never. They get the Baron kind of against the expectation of the game. With the items coming in, TP too late from Noguri. SANDBOX dare to dream they can go into that big matchup later this week against Griffin, 5-0.
Exactly. They are going to take a couple of games at least, as now the engage comes down. Canyon wants to deliver a gargoyle into the backline, and this time, Hoyt gets the quickness. The Grand Entrance is looking pretty damn grand this time, and SANDBOX are melting. Summit still alive as Ghost also able to get a double so far. Can't dance around this team fight quite well enough. And Nuclear's going to survive, but no! Summit grabs the kill with the empowered shock blast. Top laners, the ones left standing. But DWG Gaming pretty happy that it's Noguri this time.
And they wipe out 4 Barons as well and have the ability to push in mid. It's not the lead they wanted, it's the lead they'll take as everyone in unison applauds. This game still in the balance.
Yeah, Summit wanting to try and fight back here against Noguri, who doesn't have the Hemoplague or the Flash. Dash Cannon still available. Is about it. Oh man, what a disaster, but what an engage from Canyon.
And you can look at this, take a deep breath and say, what a fiesta, why are they diving 2 turrets? It's because all their comp does is hard engage, and the best way to lose this game is for Zoe, Jace, and the rest to load up on a siege with Baron and take down your base and make this game about the siege. Instead, diving here and going even is DWG Gaming slightly nose ahead. It was the right time for a dive. It was pretty close to not coming off, but it's good enough. And that means that SANDBOX Gaming lose out on the Baron-empowered minions on anyone that's not Jace.
Well, Ghost actually just got taken down. 4,000 damage in that last team fight. He still has a bounty on his head. This Kalista has able to get has been able to get a lot of work done so far and is very, very farm. More of Malmortius as well as a QSS, meaning that she's not taking as much damage from the Vladimir as Callistas you may have seen in the past. So still opportunities, still win conditions here for SANDBOX, but that Baron has a minute to go. It's only on Summit, and then they have to wait even longer to grab the next one.
I like the build from Ghost as well. A lot of people will say, where's the Rage Blade? But I don't think you can afford to go Rage Blade. It only helps if you're stacking spears, and we already said there's AoE Wombo that's going to zone her out again and again. So yeah, going for more Malmortius, I think that's pretty heads up for this particular game. Ghost walks up to top side.
Very powerful as well.
Run them around, play where you know they can't AoE you down is the SANDBOX approach. They've got the acceleration gate. They're trying to jump between lanes. Even the Ghost on Dove is a pretty welcome one to rotate. Yeah. And a run on DAMWON, but I see Noggery and I get scared.
Yep, Canyon Worldender has been popped once again, looking for another one of these engages. It feels like they can just rinse and repeat. Good knock up onto Joker, but that's the only one they're going to get as the Paddle Stars not going to land, but a Trouble Bubble means that Showmaker has to get out, and DAMWON don't find the engage this time.
That's right, they got to kite back. Noggery, after being spotted, knew that with no flash, he couldn't actually make the engage. He doesn't have the Spellbinder this game for the Nikes, and he's not going to be able to proc the Phase Rush that early and in his own base, so he backs away. So hard to kite away from this AoE, but SANDBOX, damn, are they going to try? A redemption's not going to be enough. If this Vladimir hits 4 members with Hemoplague, it's lights out for SANDBOX Gaming.
Yeah, they have to be so careful playing around Noggery's position, but with him on the top side of the map, they're going to continue playing around it, and that means a free Mountain Drake goes over to SANDBOX. Going to augment their Dragon collection with a second Mountain and an Infernal. And this Baron, if they get onto it, it's going to die even faster than the one we saw earlier. And they were able to be so tricky with the way they got out. Joker offering the right lanterns and having OnFleek able just to press W to get over the back wall. SANDBOX with their red side Baron plays, feeling pretty good.
50 CS lead in the mid lane, about 40 the 80 carry roll, but we already talked about how there was kind of diminishing returns as the item builds went further. Dove can't even find space for a Void Staff this game. Not a lot of magic resist to be picked up, so you can get away with skipping over it for now, but against Galio, you always want to itemize that as soon as possible, and they are really about, let's pick whoever we hit the Trouble Bubble with. You can't really pick and choose. You got to take whoever's in the front line.
Noggery doesn't have any magic resist in his build, and I feel like Dove's task is to try his very best to land the right Trouble Bubble on the Vladimir.
Baron respawning in 1 minute, Elder in 4 minutes. All about making the game narrow from DWG Gaming, and for SANDBOX trying to keep the side lanes where they are. We've never really hit a timing where Vladimir can run at Jace and solo him down. There's no more Unsealed Spellbook Ignite Vladimir.
Yeah, we're not hitting that just yet. But Summit being kept honest here on the bottom side of the map means that vision is available for DAMWON around the Baron Pit. In fact, lots of it surrounding this area, as Hoyt not going to get hit by any of the skill shots out of SANDBOX, and now Dove has to flash to get out of the Infernal Chains and does take the True Shot Barrage damage. Teleport from Summit gets him in here, but now they don't have that tool available. And Noggery still has his hook. Is going to land, but it's onto Canyon, not the target that SANDBOX wanted, so they deny the engage.
Galio at Hero's entrance range, the only person who's not present here. Nice poke onto Noggery.
And this is what happens. If the Zoe is landing the poke, SANDBOX can move further and further forward. If she's not, it's completely the opposite and they get ran over.
In that scenario, ARAM rules apply because we're in the mid lane. That's where the ARAM rules apply. Atlas and Jace and Zoe do the rest. But if the terrain goes away from vision control, if someone walks up too fast, and DWG Gaming, the Rakan especially, find the backline, those ARAM rolls are out the window. Speaking of ARAM, Hoyt.
Summit gonna run on forward, does get the leap to the skies, and now Hoyt is in trouble. Accelerated Shock Blast is in there, the quickness, the flash, is able to get himself out. Now Noggery in the backline, Joker comes on down, Ghost dives on top of a Vladimir, not sure whether that's what they wanted to do, but Noggery gets all of his health back. Zonya's is there, Joker is not, as he's gonna get taken down by Nuclear, and now Summit looking to run away. Dove looking for the poke damage on the disengage. but they don't get it, and DAMWON are the ones that get the pick.
Oh, it's so spicy here. Everything's so close to coming off, but only one person goes down. Hoyt desperately wanted to hold on to his flash, to have that backline engaged, to allow the Gargoyle to join, to allow the Vladimir to join. SANDBOX, they have high health bars on their carries. They run at Baron. Is there anything DWG Gaming can do to stop them?
Well, there's no World Ender available from Canyon here, and now Ghost able to put those sticks in there. Not going to be a true 50-50, and it's just going to be taken. DWG Gaming just basically gift a Baron over to SANDBOX.
That's what happens in those resting states when AoEs are down, when vision control can't be re-established. DWG Gaming for a second time. Too long on the leash with the Baron. Well claimed by SANDBOX. So watch the replay. Hoyt had to use his exhaust early. Only reason he supplies the lives through the W there. Meanwhile, the face check and Onflake apparently doing still big damage.
Yeah.
On this late game Lee Sin. Noguri can't use his ultimate how he wants to. Nothing comes off. It feels like DWG Gaming stubbed their toes a couple of times. They get a kill, but as we know afterwards, the spoilers are, they lose the Baron, and SANDBOX Gaming, if they don't get a hard engage from DWG, might actually be able to get that siege up to take the first inhibitor of the game.
Yeah, exactly. And Joker actually whiffed everything that he had access to in that last fight, so maybe it would have been a different story if some of the knockups had have come in. However, wasn't the case. SANDBOX still make it out of there and pick up that Baron like you were talking about. Health bar advantage. What's important here? Feels like it's been a 4,000 gold lead for the last 20 minutes of this game. And that should be suiting DWG. SANDBOX is still picking up these Barons.
And it's just so hard to talk about these games because the meta is so different than it used to be years ago. If this was played with tank junglers and the vision that was available with Tracker's Knife, it would be a fiesta. Because we're seeing so many fights that are 50-50 and execution being important. But this is the meta that was introduced, and with face check.
The face check from Onflake does have the Guardian Angel, remember, and is going to get taken down to it as Noguri wants to get the team fight, goes into the Sanguine pool, gets a good Tides of Blood, but has the Zhonya's there as well. The Vlad is still alive, and that means that this is going to be a DAMWON team fight. Joker the first one to go down, but Dove able to nail a lot of that damage, but Ghost has been CC'd. Now down to his Guardian Angel. Summit can't get the work done. Finally, the Vlad will fall, and now Ghost is bouncing around the fight. Gets the double in the end, and Nuclear wants to get it. The auto's not enough, and Ghost survives. SANDBOX somehow win a miracle team fight and get the ace.
They outplay them. They're excellent skirmishing on the back end. A crazy fight. SANDBOX Gaming, with those death timers, they're going to win.
Absolutely everything that needed to go right went right for DWG. The Vladimir stayed alive for absolutely way longer than he needed to, but SANDBOX just dance around the hero's entrance. Stunning stuff here, and Ghost on 6 items makes the Callista look like a deadly late-game threat, and they will win the game and take the series.
There's good starts to the season for a promoted team, and there's 5-0. The 5-0 confirmed. They go in undefeated till the time they face Griffin later this week.
And look at how excited they are as well, finally getting some redemption against a team that was certainly with the winning